Welcome to Jazz Time. JazzTime.com is an online store that buys, sells, trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. If you like this watch and would like to purchase it at the lowest price anywhere online, click on the link in the description below to buy it at JazzTime.com. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the Rolex Deepsea in yellow gold with a blue dial reference 136668 LB. New 2024 release. I will tell you a little bit about the history of the Deepsea, then tell you about where this watch stands in the lineup of other similar Deepseas, then tell you about the case bezel dial bracelet movement, finally try it on and give you my thoughts. So let's start with the history. The Deepsea is one of Rolex's most newest sports collection or professional collection. The Deepsea came out, I want to say roughly 2009, and it's had 3 iterations or 3 reference numbers since its inception. When it first came out, it only came out in steel, and it was a little bit, they've had a few issues with the bracelet. Then from there, they came out with the second generation. They fixed the bracelet issue, but they still had a few bezel issues and case issues that needed to be fixed, and I'll get into those when I start talking about the watch itself. And then they have the final iteration, which is what you see right in front of you. And in the last generation, which is what you see in front of you, Rolex came out with it in precious metal in full yellow gold, as you see. Never before had the Deepsea ever been in any precious material. In fact, it had not even been in steel and gold, only in steel. So this is the first time that they made the big boy in yellow gold. So if you want a big watch, or a big Rolex watch, that is, a big sports Rolex watch, this is actually the biggest one. Before this, the other biggest one was the Yachtmaster 2 that got discontinued. The Deepsea took its place, and now this one is the current big 44. It's the biggest sports watch that Rolex currently makes. Okay, now the Deepsea, a little bit about its history. Now, it comes from the Submariner, which gave rise to the Sea Dweller, and then evolved into the Deepsea. Now, each one of those lines I mentioned are still in existence today, but the Deepsea is the biggest, baddest, goes the farthest of all those lines. Each of those lines has its size, 40, 43, and 44. And what you see here is the biggest one. And it also can go the deepest. In fact, this one goes to 3,900 meters. For example, a Submariner goes to 300 meters. A Sea Dweller goes, I think, actually, I don't know, like 1,000 something. And then the Deepsea, which is the one that you see here, goes to 3,900 meters or 12,800 feet. And there's one even crazier than this at 50 millimeters. It's in titanium, and it goes something like, I don't know, it goes really far. It goes down as far as the Mariana Trench or something like that. It's a crazy depth, like 12,000 meters, I don't know, or something crazy. All right. At any rate, that's a little bit about the history. Now let's talk about where this watch stands in the lineup. Now the Deepsea doesn't have a lot of variations. It comes in stainless steel in plain black. It's always come in that. And then it's come in a blue gradient black dial, which is known as the James Cameron version. And then just recently in 2024, after about 15 years of this watch being released and the Yachtmaster 2 being discontinued, Rolex needed some large yellow gold watch, and they decided that the Deepsea would be a perfect fit, and I agree with them. And so they released the Deepsea in yellow gold. Now, you're probably not going to go diving with this, but that's not the purpose of this watch. This watch is for a bigger guy, or at least a guy who wants to wear a bigger watch and have one in precious metal. It's a real statement piece. So, and you probably should prepare yourself for some weightlifting, because this watch is going to be heavy on your wrist if you're wearing it around all day. Okay, that's a little about where this watch stands in the lineup. It's currently the largest sports Rolex in precious metal at 44 millimeters. Okay, let's start talking about the watch itself, starting with the case. 44 millimeters means from my thumb to my index finger. It's the largest that they have. And if you turn it on its side, it's equally thick. It's like something like 17 millimeters thick. It's ginormous. It's hugely thick. And why is that? Well, first, the crystal is already huge. I think the crystal is like 5 millimeters thick. We've had a scratched crystal before, not on this one, but on other ones. And when we pull the crystal off, it's a really thick. It's like double the thickness of a Submariner. And that's because when Rolex puts this depth rating of 12,800 feet, it actually can go that deep. So they actually have to engineer it such that it will do that. And if you put it on a thin little crystal like the Submariner, it's not going to go that deep. The crystal's going to crack. So they put this huge, thick crystal on it. And I can only imagine how big the Challenge Rolex, how thick that crystal is. Probably thick as this entire watch. Okay, anyways, that is the case. So you have and what is different about the previous generation is the new generation, when you're looking at here, the lugs, even though this watch is 44 millimeters, it actually does not sit that big. And when you see it on my wrist in a few minutes, you'll notice the lugs are more tapered. Before they were not tapered. They've done that so that the watch has a streamlined look, even though it's really big, 44 millimeter. Okay, that's one thing, one big thing. And the thickness, yes, it is big, but if you look at it, a lot of it comes from just the case back itself. So if you look at the head of the watch sitting on side profile, you'll notice that the case back somewhat protrudes down a bit, and that's because the movement, they have to make space for it. They have to make sure that the case back is thick and strong enough to withstand all this pressure that probably you'll never go to. I'm not even sure why they would engineer to 30,900 meters. How many people would take a gold deep sea down to 3,900 meters? I bet you probably wouldn't even take it 30 meters. But that's Rolex. They want to over-engineer everything, and so they do. But it actually does not sit as thick as you might think. Okay? All right, that's the case in all yellow gold. Let's start talking about the bezel here. Now, the bezel is also changed from the previous generation. The bezel actually is thinner. It has a thinner insert, which makes the watch, again, look thinner, even though it has the same proportions of being 44 millimeters. It's not meant for a small guy. It's meant for a bigger guy, or at least a guy who wants to wear a bigger watch. Not everybody has to be big to wear this. I'm not huge, but I can wear this watch. Definitely, you'll see it on my wrist. It looks quite nice. Okay, now let's look at the bezel itself. Is the same beautiful blue that they use on the Submariner. And the Submariner all blue was a smash hit. It is a smash hit. And the Deepsea blue is no different. It has the same beautiful blue gradient and this blue insert. And there you have it. Okay, let's talk about the dial. The dial only comes in this one option. There's no the second option. Unlike the Submariner, which also comes in black, the Deepsea only comes in blue. And I probably think they will do this for quite some time. I don't think they'll release a black or any other color anytime soon. But at any rate, it is blue. And yeah, it's a very beautiful blue. And I like that they keep the Deepsea with this gold writing in there. Really nice. And by the way, you can see the chapter ring, which sort of differentiates it from the Rolex Submariner in that the Rolex doesn't have this chapter ring that says original gas escape. And you know, it's funny, this watch is a gold watch. You will never ever go down that deep. I bet there'll be like one Deepsea that will ever go down to this depth, and or maybe even zero. But they put this helium escape valve, by the way, because I never dive that deep, so I don't really know, but this is what I read. If you go down deep enough, you're going to have the gases escape out of the watch, out of the side helium escape valve. Exactly how that works, to be honest, I don't really know, and it doesn't really matter, but it is here. It's part of Rolex over-engineering their watches. Okay, let's move on to the bracelet here. Now, the bracelet was also fixed from before. Before, it was really just too thin. It was 20 millimeters at the lug. I believe now it's like 21 or 22 millimeters, and it really fits the watch. Bigger watch, bigger bracelet. Makes sense. They fixed that problem in the second generation. The second and third don't have that problem. Of course, this one doesn't either. They actually had another issue before, which is they used to put not only a glide lock, but they also put a diver extension. They got rid of that, all that garbage. So now you just have this very beautiful glide lock bracelet that you can change the size of the bracelet very easily. It'll actually, if you do want to wear it to dive, you could slip it over a wetsuit if you need it, because it has this easy glide lock. It has actually one of the best bracelets on the market if you compare it to even other Rolexes. Other Rolexes, a lot of them don't have this glide lock, which makes it kind of a pain to size the bracelet without having any tools. But Rolex has solved that by putting this ingenious glide lock, and I just wonder why they don't put it on more other watches. And I think maybe it's cost. It's kind of difficult, I would think, to make this very intricate buckle that you can change the length without having to use any tools whatsoever. I would assume that that's the reason, but who knows? At any rate, the buckle or the bracelet itself is made of all yellow gold, and as you see, beautifully done and matches the case. Okay, now let's move on to the movement. The movement is actually a standard movement, 3235. It's actually the standard movement that Rolex uses in all their time and date watches above 36 millimeters. So that goes for their Yachtmaster, their GMT, or not their GMT, their Yachtmaster, their Submariner, all the Datejusts that are above 36 millimeter, even their huge 50 millimeter Challenge watch uses this caliber. So it's a very good caliber. It has an improved power reserve of 70 hours. Before, that power reserve was only like 48 hours. Now it's up to an industry standard, which I believe was set by Audemars Piguet, and probably Patek Philippe will soon follow. That 70 hours is now the standard for power reserve. Those days of 48-hour power reserve are, I believe, over, except Patek, which is clinging to that, but I think they're going to have to change too. And yeah. Okay, let's move on to, I guess that's it. It's time for me to try this watch on and give you my thoughts. Now, I'm 6 foot tall, 200 pounds, and you can see this watch fits perfectly, absolutely perfectly on me. So I'm going to have to recommend it for those who have a wrist size of at least 7 inches. Now, look, if you have a wrist size smaller than 7 inches, sorry, but you gotta wear a different watch. Submariner is good. There's many other good options for you, but not the Deepsea. Now, if you have a 7 inches or larger, which is not that big actually, because I have a 7.5 inch. I don't consider myself a huge guy. I do weigh 200 pounds. I'm 6 foot tall, so 7.5 inch wrist. You can see that how you know the watch fits really well on you is that it is covered. It covers your entire wrist, but it doesn't over cover your wrist. Like, it doesn't shoot past it. And so size is really important in this situation on a Deepsea, especially if you're deciding to buy a big watch for yourself. You had to be ready for that. You know, it definitely makes a statement. And so I think it's long past due that Rolex finally came out with a massive gold watch. The Yachtmaster has been out for a long time, but, you know, it replaced the Yachtmaster. I think it's better in a lot of ways because the Yachtmaster really was too busy, and it was not a good seller, to be honest. You know, the Deepsea is very simple and still very beautiful. And now in this yellow gold, it just gives a level of beauty and excellence. I think it's unparalleled. So it's really starting to compete with a lot of other big names, you know, especially with a massive name like Rolex. So for that reason, I'm definitely give it 2 thumbs up. And look, if you want to buy it, click on the link in the description below to buy it at jazztime.com.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to Model as seen in video, click on it, and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazzTime, plus the brand, model, and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.